Alright guys, today I want to go through with you the essential tools that I use as a locksmith every day, or almost every day. So starting with power tools, you're going to need yourself a good drill. Highly recommend at least an 18-volt battery operated drill. A corded drill is good to have too if you're on bigger jobs, but a cordless drill is going to be essential as you're not always going to have power where you're working. Cordless angle grinder is another tool that you're going to need for cutting off padlocks or cutting metal, cutting out electric strikes, whatever else you might need it for. You always need to be cutting metal at some point. Hammer drill for when you're attaching things to concrete. You're going to have a hammer drill, whether you're drilling out flush bolts or you're attaching, say, astragals to doors, and you're going to need that. I highly recommend a rapid charging for your batteries. It's nothing worse than having to wait on the old NiCad batteries. Being able to charge your battery to full in 15 to 20 minutes is, you can't beat that. I also recommend a cordless shop vac. I can't tell you how handy it is to not be searching around for power from a shop vac. This thing has all the suction you need. It's great, has a detachment for the brush, it has everything you need. And so when you're just doing maybe one door and you chiseled some stuff out, and that just does the job. You're not hauling this giant thing around. It's got a handle. And it came with a strap too. I took it off. Not a big fan of the strap. I just find carrying the handle works just fine. You're also going to need at least a couple batteries. I went with the 8 amp hour, and I think we got a 4 amp hour here as well. Now, I went with Hilti. I've had Milwaukee in the past, so I had DeWalt in the past. I had my Milwaukee tools all die off on the same day. And after that, I decided to spend the extra few bucks and go to Hilti. And I tell you, the difference in quality, I don't know, I can tell it. So that's my personal preference. I mean, use what you want, and you obviously can save a few bucks by using DeWalt or Milwaukee or Ryobi, any of the others. But for me personally, I definitely prefer the Hilti power tools. All right, so next up, we got our hand tools. You're going to need an assortment of screwdrivers. You're going to need at least a few sizes of Robertson. You're going to need some flatheads, some Phillips. You can go the multi-bit option. I definitely love my multi-bit. It definitely is handy. You're going to need a security driver for those odd things. Tech driver. I like this multi-bit one. Obviously, I'm using predominantly Wera tools for my drivers. That's a personal preference. I just like the feel. The ergonomic grip feels nice in my hand. I like the look. That's my personal preference, but you use whatever you feel is right. And at the end of the day, you know, if you're on a budget, you don't need to go out and break the bank on tools. Any screwdriver will do. It's better to have a screwdriver in hand and be on the job than no tool at all, because you're trying to save up for the more expensive brand. Now for pliers and cutters, you're going to need some needle nose, linesman pliers, vice grips. Side cutters are handy too if you're doing any electrical work with electric strikes. Now wrenches, you're going to need an assortment of wrenches. You're always going to need some bolts that you need to pull off of doors, whether it be on astragals or whatever you're working on. Same with a socket set. Oftentimes you can get a socket set or any kind of set really that comes with all the multi-bits anyways. This is my personal preference with the Wera set. And again, you need metric and SAE. Do not get caught out with the wrong size or the wrong bit. Hammer and chisels. You got to have chisels. Now this is the one time that I would say it's worth spending the extra few bucks. Get yourself a good set of chisels. There is a substantial difference between cheap chisels and good chisels. Now you don't need to go out and get the $300 chisel, but you know, even spending 150 to 200 bucks on chisels is worth every bit of it. These are the Narex brand. They've done me quite well. And you're also going to need a pry bar, at least one. I don't have it out here right now, but another thing you're going to want is a pair of bolt cutters. Sometimes you might be doing a realtor will want you to take a lockbox off of a house they've sold, but it's chained to the gas meter. And although you could use your angle grinder to pull that off, I would suggest using bolt cutters instead. There's any sparks near a gas meter, to me, it just sounds like a bad idea. All right, next up is our our bits list. So these are all the essential bits you're going to need, and saws. So you got to have a selection of hole saws and a jig to go with it. So you're going to use these for when you're cutting out deadbolts or cutting out levers or knobs, anything on new installation. And you pair this with your jig. Now, I will say I've used the Crono Lock jig that comes in the nice big box and the big kit. It is very nice, but it's also very expensive. And I don't know, the last I saw it was about $750 for the kit. And that to me is a bit steep for something that's $50 at Home Depot. That's, I mean, granted, you get all the bits and all the things you need, but it's, if you're, like I said, if you're starting out, you don't really need it. It's not going to do anything different than what this jig here is doing. It is fancier. It's made of metal. It's definitely going to hold up longer. But, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you need your selection of hole saw bits. Get a whole myriad of them. They usually come as a kit like this one. Spade bits. You're going to need spade bits for cutting out different things, usually for the throws or for the deadbolt itself going into the door. You need your high-speed bits, whether if you absolutely have to, you got to drill out a lock, or if you're drilling wood for your screws so you don't split the wood, something you need. And carbide bits. Very important that you have different carbide bits. Sometimes you get a strike that's not quite hitting quite right. If you shave a little bit of the metal off there, then on the strike plate, and you're off to the races. You're also going to need a selection of concrete bits for your hammer drill there, for the odd times that you do need to throw some rivets in or anything else like that. Now, obviously, I'm using Milwaukee. You don't need to use Milwaukee. They're not the greatest. They're not bad. For me, it's the convenience of being able to get them. I don't have a metal shop around me that sells the better bits. It's quite a drive, so it's hard to justify the cost right now with gas, driving all the way to get the extra bits when these do the same job. I mean, they do break, but not as bad as some of the other bits out there. But definitely not the best, but not the worst either. Right, on to open up tools. This is the fun stuff, right? This is why we all do this. So, starting off with the big guys, you need your selection of lock picks. You know, you'll find what you like. Personally, I find this guy here and this guy here, that's the wombo combo right there. You can't beat that. I mean, hey, these guys, love them, don't get me wrong, a lot of fun. But this right here, you can't beat that. It's so simple, it's so easy. And you know, when you're out here trying to make a few bucks, this is what you want. You also need a plug spinner. You know, gotta have that in case you pick it the wrong way. Easy flip. Now, for all you old guys out there, this is what you need right here. This I'm gonna do a whole video on this. This is the Locktech Smart Key Decoder. This has a built-in camera, and with this you shove this basically into a smart key lock, and it tells you what the cuts are, and you can go make a key, and then you're getting into smart key without drilling it. Got your automotive open up tools, your airbag, your rods, Crono Lock rods. I find those are the good ones. They got a coating on them, doesn't muck up the doors. All right, now you got to have a tool bag. You got to have a way to get all those tools inside. This is the Wera bag that I use. Handy. Everything velcros on. I got my square for payment, got my tools, folds down. I've got all the things I need all in one place. So when I go in, I make one trip from the truck to the client's door, and that's it. Got my sockets, got my drill bits, got my wrenches. Might need to go to the truck for a thing or two, but for the most part, I've got everything I need. Highly recommend some sort of tool bag or box so that you're not making constant trips back and forth from the client's house to your truck, because sometimes that's really not practical, not feasible. Parking may not be great, whatever. All right, moving inside the vehicle now. You got to have your things, got to have WD-40, got to have your paper towel. That's absolutely essential. I'll welcome you to my office. So down here, we've got our Energizer battery inverter. This thing is unreal. I cut keys on this all day, every day. I charge it maybe once a month. No, it doesn't hook up to the truck. I don't need to. It's a battery. Powers my key cutter. Does everything I need it to do. You got your keys. You got flash. You got your little flashlight keychains, giveaway shims. Got a follower, tweezers, little garbage box, whatever, right? Moving up, we've got the Flash 08, which hooks up to the inverter. So our little key cutter does everything we need it to do, man. This thing is a beast. Obviously it doesn't cut new keys, but we got a solution for that. We run old school. We got space and depth, baby. You don't need to go and spend $5 grand on a key cutter if all you're doing is residential for the most part. This does the job. Sure, it takes a little longer, but you know what? I saved about $4,500 by not getting a cut-by-code machine in my truck. Now, jigglers, gotta have those. Another automotive open-up tool, gotta have it. Pinning kit, got the Lab Mini 005. Boom, all you need. Lab pinning mat, gotta have pinning mat, need a good work surface. It's a little tight in here because I'm working out of a Tacoma, but hey, it does the job, right? Well, there you go. That's a basic overview of what we use. Essential tools, I would say you absolutely, but bare minimum, need to be a locksmith. And like I said, you don't need to break the bank. Hey, it's better to have the tool in hand than not. So, or as I say, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So anyways, yeah, you have any questions, shoot us a message. Thanks.